Good morning. So yesterday after you left, I fed Giuseppe, and we're gonna make bread with him today. So remember I told you this is like a 2-day process. So you feed it, you let it sit overnight, and then it's ready to go the next morning. When I do my feeds, I always write on my label what I feed it with. So like with Giuseppe, I knew I was gonna make bread today, so I fed him pretty heavy. So I put 140 of Giuseppe in there, 140 of flour, and 140 of water. Mixed him all up, let him sit overnight, and as you can see, he really did a good job. So this is where we started, where this line is. He went all the way to the top, as you can see on the jar. He went all the way to the top, and then he came back down. So when that was called peak, when he's all the way up here. And then he starts coming back down. So now he's ready to go. And so I'm gonna take a cup of him and I'm gonna make flour today. I'm gonna make bread today. So, and you just texted me and told me you're at work until 2. So I'll send this video to you after I've done the last step, okay? So this is an all-day process, just so you know. All right, so let's get started. See if I can get this to go down enough. Well, I'm gonna have to put you to my side then. Okay, so trying to find the best angle for it. Sorry, I know you're getting dizzy, right? Dizzy. Oh, there's a good angle right there. Okay, so what do we have here? So I have my measuring cup. This is a 1.5 cup. And then I have my bowl that we're gonna mix him in. And then I have Giuseppe, okay? And then we have our spring water. Remember yesterday, I told you to get some bottled water, spring water. And then we have our bread flour. So I keep my bread flour in this because this is the King Arthur bread flour, high protein bread flour. And then I keep my regular flour, the all-purpose flour, in these containers. So today, because we're making bread, we're gonna use bread flour. Okay, so the first thing I gotta do is I gotta measure out Giuseppe. And I'm just gonna go by that basic recipe I gave you yesterday in the little booklet. So this is the most basic one. Now this one, the measurements that is on that sheet I gave you are in cups, but you should really get used to doing grams, okay? So today we're gonna use 1 cup of active starter. So we'll get Giuseppe, and then this is a 1 cup. And then you want to stir Giuseppe. I want you to see what this looks like. See how bubbly it is? That means he is active, very, very active. Now, if you ever get your starter and after you fed it, it doesn't bubble up, something's wrong. So it should bubble up really good. Okay, so now we're gonna pour a cup of starter in here. Okay, and starter can be very sticky. And remember when I said yesterday, invest in a lot of paper towels, because you do not want to rinse this down your sink. You want to wipe it out, wipe everything off with a paper towel first. I'm gonna cover him back up because I'm probably gonna use him again in a little bit, because I have quite a bit of starter in there. Okay, so then you're gonna put that in your bowl. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so now I'm putting the starter in my bowl. He's nice and milky looking. He's excited. He's ready to get going. Okay, so now I have my starter in the bowl. That's what it looks like. All right, and then we're gonna use 1 cup of water. Okay, so we're gonna put spring water in here. And we're gonna put 1 cup in there. All right, and this is a good time to clean out your little dish too, that you put the starter in. So I just kind of mix it around a little bit. Oh, actually, you know, I skipped a step. It's supposed to be warm water. So zap it for like 10 to 15 seconds. You just want it lukewarm. You don't want to get it hot, just lukewarm. Giuseppe was yelling at me saying, I'm cold, I'm cold. No, I don't like the cold water. Okay, so this is lukewarm now. All right, so now again, I'm cleaning out my little dish so I don't have a whole lot of paper toweling to do. Okay, so my dish is pretty clean actually, so I just have to wipe it a little bit with the paper towel. And you want to try and get it off while it's still wet, because otherwise it dries like plaster of Paris. Okay, so now we're going to mix this water. This is just water and your starter. Gonna mix that up really good. Now there's all kinds of little whisks out there that they recommend for bread starters. In fact, I have one. It came in my starter kit. It looks like this. So a lot of people use these, which is okay. I just don't use it that much because the starter, once I put the flour in here, then it gets really cakey and sticky and it gets caught in between those prongs. So I just like using this until I'm using my fingers. Okay, so now when it's ready, when this water is all combined, it looks like a thick milk, okay? Shouldn't be thick like pancake batter, just like a thick milk. Like a buttermilk. Okay, so then next, you're going to put your bread in. I'm sorry, put your flour in. Duh. Your bread flour. And this recipe calls for 2 cups of bread flour. So we're going to do that right now. Actually, I'm going to use this as a measuring cup. I love this measuring set, but that's a 1.5 cup. And I like to be accurate, so I'm going to use my 1 cup. so that's 1 cup. And then we're gonna put the second one in. Just put all your bread in at the same time. Some people use their standing mixer. I don't for this kind of bread. I use my mixer if I'm gonna make the dough for the pasta. But for this, I just use my hands. Okay, so now we're gonna mix that all up. Now this is gonna be a little messy. So get those paper towels ready. You want to just blend that flour in there really good. And you can see it's already starting to come into it, form a ball of flour. Once it starts doing that, then it's ready for your loving fingers. Now I've already washed my hands. Make sure you wash your hands and make sure you take off any rings, because once this starter gets on your rings, it's a pain to get it off. So make sure you get it on your rings, push your watch up, put your clothes up, whatever you gotta do. And now you're going to mix this with your hands. And you're just gonna get it all nice and mixed up good. Oh, and you remember that little scraper I showed you yesterday? We're gonna use that right now, as soon as I can get some of this off my hands. This scraper is great, okay? And you said you're used to that anyway, so I like to use it. Get all the sides down, all the flour off the sides. Kind of clean up your bowl a little bit. Okay, clean your scraper off. Also helps get it off your hands. Okay, so Giuseppe is kind of happy right now. So now the next step is we got to let him rest. Now the recipe calls for salt. Now some people put their salt in right away. I wait until I start doing my stretches and folds before I put my salt in. So now we're going to let this sit and rest for 45 minutes. 45 minutes to an hour. The recipe, I think, calls for 30 minutes, but I found that the longer I let it rest, the more it will activate the gluten. So we're gonna let all this rest for a little bit. Another thing that I read about was to get a pail of water, so like a wash bucket or something that you can put water in, and when you're done with your utensils or your bowls or whatever, you put them down in that water and use that to rinse off everything, get it off your utensils, and then you take the water and you dump it outside. And you had that preserved back there in the back, so you have a lot of places you can dump water. Anyway, and it doesn't hurt the plants, or at least the preserved plants. Let's see, I'm just getting all that off my hands. Okay. Get that all off. And then, check off the scraper. Okay, so this is a really sticky right now, which that's normal. That's what we want. And now you're going to cover it, and that's when you're going to use those shower caps that I was showing you. And I have these in all different sizes. Glad used to carry a box of them, and with different sizes, but I couldn't find the Glad, so I did find these. So these are nice because they're covering it, so no bacteria, nothing gets in your bread. But also they're stretchy enough where it's going to release the gas so it doesn't build up. If you put something on here really tight, like a tight saran wrap or something tight, your bread won't rise because the gas is trapped in there, it can't get out. So make sure whatever you put on there is something loose. Some people put a towel over their bowl. The problem with that is your dough can dry out and it's useless. So put this on there and then just set it in a nice warm spot. And like I showed you yesterday, I used my heating pad. So I'm gonna put it on the heating pad and I'm gonna set the alarm for 45 minutes and then I'll be back.